During today's second bonus webinar for the Azon 30-day challenge, we're going to be discussing software. This software that we're going to be talking about, I don't have a pre-planned lesson for you guys tonight. Instead, what I want to do is talk to you about the software that you use. Anything that you might use on an Amazon affiliate website, and you might be wondering how you would work it in to the Azon 30-day challenge. Those are the questions that I want to hear tonight. If need be, if I don't know the software, if I'm not familiar with it already, I can go and pull up a page for it real quick and take a quick look at it and still give you my opinion on how to utilize it. Yes, Rick, if you missed the first bonus webinar, it is in the Azon 30-day challenge members area. If you just log into your account there and scroll all the way down to the bottom of the members homepage, you can find it down in, it's in a big yellow section, I believe, on that page. You're quite welcome. Now, as I mentioned before, today is all about helping you out with your software. So this is a Q&A session. So if you do want to get some help with the software that you're using to find out how you should be using it to help you create your Amazon sites, especially the ways that I teach creating sites in the Azon 30-day challenge, let me know your specific questions or let me know just the software that you want to use, and I can give you my opinions on it. If I'm in the middle of answering somebody else's questions at the moment, you're welcome to still go ahead and put yours into the chat box, and I will get to you as quick as I possibly can. Lisa, tonight's webinar is planned to be 2 hours. I don't necessarily hold strictly to that time. If there are questions that take me on longer than that, then so be it. For the bonus webinar number 1, I want to say we ran 3 hours and 10 minutes even. So it lasted a little while because of questions that people had, which is quite all right. Now, let's see. Thomas. There was a Thomas from bonus webinar number 1 that had been asking about Azon Product Inspector, Azon Top 100 Analyzer, and the Azon Keyword Generator, all those from Amma Suite. Are you here this evening, Thomas? Okay, great. I told you that I would start with you first tonight, so I would like to do just that. I'll pull up something visual here. Even if it is just the sales page, so others can see what we're talking about. I can see that at least a couple of other people are already asking about Amma Suite as well. So this should be helpful not only for Thomas, but also for others that are using Amma Suite. I know it's a popular bundle of software that Amazon affiliates are commonly using these days. Amma Suite is a nice package of software. It's maybe a little on the pricey side in terms of you can certainly do the things that Amma Suite is doing without this software. It would obviously take you a decent amount of time. However, your average affiliate, I don't think, is really going to need to be doing this kind of thing too frequently. Ultimately, where I would be using Amma Suite is in my research and planning phase of my site building. There are a number of different tools here, and I thought I would kind of walk through each of them in a little more detail to talk about them and to talk about how you could specifically apply this to your Amazon site building. The first one here is the Azon Top 100 Analyzer. Now, this one goes through the best-selling products that are out there on Amazon. You have your best sellers, your top-rated, hot new releases, so on and so forth. Some of these I had talked about in bonus webinar number 1, the hot new releases especially. So the products that are found within these can certainly be useful to you when you're researching things. The one recommendation that I would have, and this is probably going to go for all of the different software titles that are in the Amma Suite package, is simply to don't depend on it completely. It can be great to help you mine a lot of data in a large amount of time. Sometimes, though, doing too much of that can ultimately overwhelm you. And so, personally, I still just use the Amazon website, and I have access to an absurd amount of Amazon software, being a developer and also promoting Amazon software myself. Even though I have access to a large amount of this stuff, I do find myself still going to the Amazon website to hunt down this information manually. Now, for those of you that are using Amma Suite and you do want to utilize it, number one, when you're going through and you're trying to find possibly a niche, you could use this to hunt down some of the best-selling products, something that would allow you to filter out the various prices and categories and things of that nature that you might be going after. So it can certainly help you to save a lot of time to narrow down the products that you do want to look at. But again, this is only going to be limited to the top 100 in one of the different categories, the best sellers, the hot new releases, plus you have the different Amazon product categories within any of those individual areas. Even though it's a lot of products that it has access to, you're still greatly limited there. You're still going to be ignoring a large number of products. So use this to help you pick out some of the cherries of the bunch, some of what could be your best-selling or your more popular products that are within the niche that you are trying to target. Then I would still recommend going back to the Amazon website and looking beyond the top 100 for products that simply make sense and fit with whatever it is you're trying to promote. While the $100 plus products, the things that you could easily narrow down with the Azon Top 100 Analyzer, you also want to be worrying about accessories or essential things that go along with those more expensive products, because it makes for a more useful website in the end. And you're going to end up targeting things that the average affiliate is not going after. Unfortunately, pretty much anything that this software will pull for you, if you're trying to go after the product with a keyword phrase, especially a brand and a model related keyword phrase for that specific product, you will find that anything that this software returns will have a lot more search engine competition on it, for the simple fact that it gets a lot more exposure. They're up in the top 100 rankings of these different categories. Affiliates can find these products very readily through the Amazon website. They can find it through different kinds of Amazon software, such as this, and they can also find it through different Amazon plugins, such as Product Style, my Amazon plugin that you use for creating advertisements. You can hunt down products based on their ranking. So you definitely get a lot more competition centered around anything that's going to come as a result of this software. Again, that doesn't mean ignore it completely. Use what works. Use what you think people are going to be inclined to buy. And if you are finding yourself promoting a ton of products that this software is returning, ask yourself where your website traffic is going to end up coming from. You need to make sure you have various types of search keywords that are going to be lower in competition than these product type of keywords that are going to be relating to these top 100 products. Now, Azon Product Inspector, to a certain extent, still kind of works with the products that are on Amazon, but this is really more centered around keyword phrases and also helping you to extract relating products. Now, this does help you go beyond the top 100. So this can be kind of a follow-up software that you would use after the top 100 software that I was previously talking about. This could also be used to help you to uncover keyword phrases that you might potentially be interested in targeting. It will also help you to dig a little deeper and to help uncover some of those other products that I was referring to, the things that you would normally have to go onto the Amazon website to find. You can use the Amazon website itself. You can use this software. Of all of them, this is probably one of my more favorites in terms of product research because it's not just limited to those top 100. So if you were going to focus on any one of them to utilize for your product research, this would certainly be it. Now, what's really useful when it comes to keyword phrases is the Azon keyword generator. This software lets you harvest keywords that people are searching for on the Amazon website. Sometimes these keyword phrases can end up having search engine traffic for them. However, I would still recommend anything that you're getting off of this software to go back to the Google Keyword Planner and to double check how much traffic is actually coming off of these phrases. Ultimately, if nothing at all is showing up in the Keyword Planner, it doesn't really matter if somebody is searching on Amazon for that product because your affiliate website can never show up on the Amazon website when somebody is searching there. So to a certain extent, this is really more useful for a vendor, in my opinion, than it is for an affiliate. However, you can still use it for some initial keyword research to find out what people are searching for on Amazon. Not all the times, but a lot of times that stuff can be a decent keyword phrase to try to target off of Google. Now, the Azon Review Finder is pretty interesting. I've never used this one. I've tried out Amma Suite before. I have not tried the current version, and either I don't recall it or I don't think this review finder was always part of the package, at least in earlier versions of it. It's pretty interesting, though, looking at some of the things that this software can do. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's useful for every single Amazon affiliate, but for those of you that are solely interested in building your sites from outsourcing, this could be useful to potentially help you track down people that might be willing to do some writing for you or to make some product review videos for you based on tracking down people that are actually reviewing products on Amazon. It looks like you can actually harvest email addresses from people that are reviewing products on Amazon. So the number one way that I could kind of see this being potentially beneficial for an Amazon affiliate would be to then go and try to track down people that are verified reviewers of a product that you want to promote and see if they'll write up something for you about the product, or see if they'll make a product review video for you, obviously getting paid to do either one of these. So again, that's not really something that would be for your average affiliate, but for a special type of affiliate that's going after certain kinds of practices as far as outsourcing and going really heavy on product review pages, or maybe even producing product review videos for YouTube, things of that nature. There could certainly be a market for it. Now, I think I'm down into the bonuses now. I believe I covered all the actual software that is a part of that. Did any of you want me to go into any of these? I don't think Thomas ever asked about Amma Sync, but I wasn't sure if any of the rest of you that were asking about Amma Suite were possibly using this one. Let's see, J. Michael is asking about. Okay, I do have somebody that wants me. I will get to you in just a moment, J. Michael. I do have one more person that wants me to go through the rest of this here. Curlin, not a problem. I will go through Amma Sync here for you. With Amma Sync, I've never used this one personally myself either. It appears, though, that it's something that you could kind of connect up to the software, where basically use the software, the top 100 analyzer and the product inspector to research the products that you would want to create on your website. Then it looks like you would export that information, import it into the Amma Sync plugin, and I can't tell for sure, but it looks like it is creating complete pages based on those Amazon products. Now, just like I would recommend for any other kind of a software that will automatically generate pages for you, especially based on Amazon product pages, is to go through and do a heavy amount of customization and to publish them very sporadically. You don't want to go through and publish 100 pages at a time in something like this, because the amount of time it's going to take you to go back through and to customize those pages is going to be way too long. Google's going to find them long before you get through all of those different pages. So I really recommend to go through one at a time if the software allows you to do something like that, and customize the title, especially customize either the text that is already there and or you can add in your own custom content to the top of those product pages. What's been going on in the last year or two especially, Amazon has been cracking down more and more on the use of these automated types of product review pages, where they don't want to see a page on your site that is using just the information off of Amazon. What's the point of Amazon paying an affiliate a commission if they're just taking the content that they provide, slapping it up on a website in bulk? Yes, they are looking for traffic to go through these affiliate websites and to come into the Amazon website, but they are looking for affiliates to bring some kind of value to the table. Amazon can also realize when things start to get a little bit out of hand and these automated types of pages start to kind of take over the marketplace. It could certainly degrade Amazon's reputation over time if they become known for affiliates that'll just, slap up these mass generated pages at the click of a button. So just like for any of these other software titles that you're going to utilize to create product review pages, just create them one at a time. Use what you have there from that software to help save you work and effort. Use the images and your buy buttons and everything else that you already have. That's perfectly fine. You want to customize the title, though, is the very number one thing that I can recommend for people to do, because that's automatic. It's the same title that's off of Amazon. It's the same title that any other affiliate, no matter what software they're using, they're going to have that exact same title if they're generating a page for that same product. So by customizing the title, you're immediately setting yourself apart from the competition in the search rankings. Because when people are looking through Google and they're scrolling through the search rankings, if they see a whole bunch of pages with the exact same title, the one page that has a different title will certainly stand out from the bunch. But not only that, I can guarantee you that Google will look at those unique titles a lot more favorably. Beyond that, as much work as you can do with the content itself, the better off you will be. If it's completely custom content, that's awesome. If you can only do half custom content and you're using a fairly brief product summary that's provided from the Amazon website, that is quite okay. I believe everything else in here is going to be training. Yeah, I believe everything else here is training past that plugin. So that would really be my main recommendations for utilizing that plugin. Now, J. Michael, you were asking about my example site for Associate Goliath. What I would recommend to do, are you talking about the one that's covered in the bonus series? I did have somebody report today that one off of a promotional page that I have, like a demo site, was not working. I think that is a different site from the one that is in the bonus series, but I hadn't had anybody mention that one. As far as seeing how I utilize it, essentially what I was just describing there about AmaSync, that's my basic recommendation for using Associate Goliath, for using Fresh Store Builder, for using any other software that's going to automatically generate a complete product review page on your website for you. You just need to use them with caution and customize as much of the content as you can. Now, as far as how to actually do that in Associate Goliath, I do have a bonus training series, which I was talking about. I don't know if you have access to that or not, just in case either you or somebody else would like to see how I utilize Associate Goliath in a lot more detail. I've provided a link to my bonus training series for that. Nothing to buy there, by the way. That's something I created for to promote Associate Goliath as an affiliate, to provide my own customers with my recommendations and my strategies for utilizing that plugin. So let's see, Richard is asking about Longtail Pro software. I'm not right off the bat. That's the actual name, right? Longtail Pro. It's possible I've used it before. I've tried a lot of these different keyword research softwares. I'm assuming that's what this is for. Let me take a quick look at this here, and I'd be happy to give you my opinion on it. I like the competitor analysis. That's looking nice. That can certainly be helpful to help you to gauge the competition of different keyword phrases that you might be researching or thinking about targeting on your website. In the Azon 30-day challenge, I have a very basic method that I use to gauge the competition. If there are particular keyword phrases that you have where it's really, really important that you achieve a top 10 ranking on them, as opposed to some of the other pages or keywords that you're going after on your site, I would certainly utilize Longtail Pro, the competitor analysis part in particular. Looking at certain things like the domain age and to a certain extent maybe the number of backlinks, the page rank also, some of these things can give you an indication as to whether more than just the content is going to be needed to achieve a ranking. I go heavily for putting the focus on the content that's going to be on my websites, because ultimately that's where the long-term success is at. There's no tricking a search engine when you have completely unique content. So when you're providing what they're looking for, they're really not going to drastically alter their policies and the way they rank websites. Beyond that, content and unique, useful content is always going to be important to Google. However, you do have other things that can basically decide whether or not a site is going to make it up into the top 10 or not beyond the content itself. If you have 100 websites that all have really great content about a subject, what's going to really set one apart from the other in the Google rankings? This competitor analysis right here, giving you things like page rank, domain age, number of backlinks, can tell you whether or not you may have to wait a little while or possibly do some marketing work on those pages to be able to get those search rankings. For My strategy in general, what I teach in the Azon 30-day challenge, trying to go after really low competition keyword phrases. If you're doing an all-in title search and you're finding less than 1,000 results for a keyword phrase that you're going after, chances are you're not going to really have to worry about these other aspects to ranking in the search engines too much. But this certainly does come into play more when you're going after some of the more higher competition phrases. And there are certainly phrases like that that I go after on my websites. It's just a question of whether or not it's worth pursuing the extra work that it takes to get into the top 10 for a higher competition phrase. So I do like that this could give you at a quick glance some of the information necessary. If you can see that everybody that's up in the top 10 has been around for 5 or 10 years, and they have hundreds or thousands of backlinks, and they have all this other stuff going for them that you ultimately can't build up overnight. That's going to take you a decent amount of time to achieve even a fraction of that yourself. You can tell at a quick glance whether or not it's going to be possible to rank for some of these phrases. But again, if you're sticking to the really low competition stuff, you shouldn't have to worry about these things. Overall, sometimes it still can come into play, but I try to avoid going too deep into certain aspects of my research simply because they simply take a lot of time. And based on how I go about targeting my keywords and things of that nature, I don't find that time to be well spent for the average keywords that I'm going after. Doesn't mean it wouldn't be useful for a lot of you, though, if you have existing rankings where maybe you're getting up to page 2 or to page 3 after you've created your website and you're not quite sure why you're not progressing beyond that. Maybe you've even tried adding some additional content into your website and you're still not really progressing up into the top 10. Searching out some of those other things like how long those websites have been around, how much authority Google really places on them with things like the PageRank, and obviously how much attention they're getting from other websites with things like backlinks. Other parts of this, checking domain names is okay. That can still be kind of done in bulk on GoDaddy.com. You can take a big list of phrases and just remove the spaces out of them and search for those on GoDaddy to find all the exact match domains, which is definitely not as important as it was a number of years ago. This one is halfway decent, the rank checker. This can be pretty expensive to get out of various types of services that are out there, to where you can monitor your search engine rankings and how your site is doing over the course of time, especially. For people that are first getting started and maybe they're not all that comfortable with growing their search rankings. Maybe they're not comfortable with going through and analyzing the data that's there after they create a website and then to go back through their website and make some changes. I do talk about that stuff in the 30-day challenge towards the end of it. If you find that that whole process really confuses you, or you're not really sure whether you're making gains over the course of time, something like the rank checker could be useful. It can help you to identify areas of your website that might need some attention and others that are working like a well-oiled machine. However, I also find that Google Analytics and Google Webmaster Tools does help out with at least some of this information. It's not going to give you 100% of what you are looking for in terms of if you want a very specific keyword phrase tracked, you would need something like Longtail Pro to help you to track those rankings. If you're just interested in your keywords in general, your top performing ones especially, personally, I just use analytics and webmaster tools. There is a decent amount of data available there, especially if you connect the two of them together. You get some of the webmaster tools data sent over to your analytics account, and it expands the information available to you there. So I do personally kind of stick with the tools that Google makes available to me, but I can see how a Longtail Pro could be useful for at least certain situations, or for going through some of that initial keyword research, trying to find some of those lower competition phrases in particular, and to help you to weed out the ones that may or may not need that extra work. So in terms of the way I recommend sites to be built with the Azon 30-day challenge and focusing more on the content, I do think it could be useful to help people to maintain their focus on that so they can pick out the keyword phrases that are more likely to be rankable with just a 500-word article, for an example. Raymond, what software do I recommend to build an Amazon store? Assuming you're talking about an Amazon affiliate store, I really would not recommend a specific automated software title if you're looking for something that's going to create the whole website for you. You're really not going to get much of anything in the way of automated search engine traffic that way. If you have a way that you're going to be driving traffic to one of those websites, that can certainly be fine. And then you can just block search engines from going to those websites to begin with. Otherwise, though, if you're not going to use a software that's going to create these product review pages for you and then go back in and manually edit these pages to customize the titles, to add some of your own unique content in with them, beyond those options, I really recommend to go the manual option. Write out articles and then simply place an Amazon affiliate ad within that article. It can be a couple of text links, maybe down towards the bottom. You can use an image up at the top of the article, kind of more like what you would get off of one of those automated product review pages. Doing it that way, I use Product Style, my own plugin for all the Amazon sites that I personally build for myself. It's modeled after my own advertising techniques that I've been using for many years, especially the ones that I've been using since before I even started teaching my strategies to people, because I built my plugin based off of the custom ads that I had created on my own websites and made it to where they were easy to produce, but also to where you could maintain a focus on that custom content and not necessarily showing everything that Amazon has available, but just showing the information that is going to be useful to your website visitors and then adding in your own content to go with it. Let's see, Tina Ravelli, is that how it's pronounced? Is that the upsell for Amma Suite? I don't know that I've ever seen that particular one. If I guess it doesn't matter what that's the upsell for. If you do have software like that, though, something that is going to be actually pulling the content from the customer reviews that are on the Amazon website, or even from the question and answers that are on the Amazon website. I'm a huge fan of utilizing that information. The reviews and the question and answers that are on the Amazon website for products contain great information. The only problem with trying to utilize that exact content on your own website is that it's specifically prohibited in the Amazon terms of service. With that said, though, I still recommend reviewing that information. Another reason why I use the Amazon website itself while I'm looking at a product, especially while I'm looking into writing up an article for that product, I'll go in and I'll see what people are talking about. I'll go and look at the reviews. I'll go and look at the question and answers. That way I'm learning the information myself and I can rehash it in the article in my own words. That way I'm still getting the benefits of the information and the facts that are contained within the Q&A in the reviews. But I'm also avoiding the issue of violating Amazon's terms of service. So whether it's for Ravelli or even any other kind of software that might be putting reviews on your actual website, I would be careful about utilizing things like that because it can be either in direct violation or maybe stretching into gray territory, just depending on how it's being used. Now, there are some exceptions to that rule. There is one allowed way that you can use Amazon's product reviews on your actual website. And I'm pretty sure that both Associate Goliath and Fresh Store Builder are utilizing this method when they show those reviews, and that's using an iframe. If you right-click on one of the reviews that you have on your website and you look at the HTML for it, look at inspect, if you see that it's part of an iframe that review is in, then you're safe because that iframe's coming directly from the Amazon website. They provide that through their product advertising API system, and that one use of it is allowed. Beyond that, if you were to try to essentially scrape that content off of those reviews and to put it into WordPress comments, for example, on your own website, that would not be allowed. So definitely be careful with how reviews and things like that are utilized if you do have those on your sites. Tina, yes, it is. The earnings and traffic blast can be found in Team Azon Pro. Team Azon Pro ends up getting pretty much any videos that I create as long as they're not for a very specific purpose, unless it's something that would apply to a large number of my customers or Amazon affiliates in general. Sometimes they may not have a video immediately after it's become available. There might be one or two videos in that particular course that's not on Team Azon Pro yet. However, those should actually be getting released there sometime this month. Let's see. Tina is asking about WordPress security. The new WP Site Guardian. I did not look into that. I've been so caught up with answering questions for people and preparing for bonus webinars and such for the Azon 30-day challenge that I never did look into WP Site Guardian. To a certain extent, security is definitely important. Obviously, you yourself are noticing some attempts by hackers. They didn't succeed. Okay, you said WordFence logged them out. They are certainly out there. A lot of them really don't know what they're doing. A lot of them are kids or just using some kind of publicly available information. To a certain extent, I find that if you're using the most recent version of WordPress, if you're using a complex password and you simply keep all of your software up to date, and if you're also careful about what you actually use on your site in terms of the free plugins in particular, because you just never really know what's going to be in them. The commercial plugins that you're buying are much, much less likely to contain any kind of malicious code, because people that are selling plugins aren't looking to try to hack your site or provide some kind of vulnerability or backdoor or whatever. You know, that's their business, so that's something that they are looking out for. I can speak from personal experience with that. On one hand, some of those plugins that are sold, I think they kind of use fear-mongering tactics. There is some truth behind it. I don't think it as a huge, widespread problem like they might be, trying to portray it to be. They certainly do, exaggerate to a certain extent on sales pages for pretty much any security plugin that I've ever seen. They are using the fear of loss, the potential fear of loss, to try to land a sale there. Personally, though, I don't have security plugins like that running on a vast majority of my WordPress sites, my Amazon affiliate sites in particular. And the only time I've ever had an issue with them is when I let WordPress lapse and not be up to date. However, as long as you make sure to go through and install that WordPress through Quick Install through the control panel when you're first getting started, that's even keeping WordPress up to date these days. So since I've been utilizing that auto updating process, I have not had one single successful hack on any of my WordPress sites. With that said, I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying that look at your individual situation and judge whether it is worth it or not. For you personally, when you can see that there are attempts on your site, but your existing plugin, WordFence, for example, is successfully locking them out, I would suggest that you just stick with what you have. It sounds like it's working just fine. I can't speak from experience without knowing exactly what might be the differences between those two plugins to say whether the new one is indeed much better than WordFence, as an example. But if you have not ever had any problems with it and you're already using some kind of security software like that, I really wouldn't worry too much about trying to invest more. Let's see. Paulette is asking if I have used Fresh Store Builder. I have. I have actually created an entire bonus training series for that. I provided Associate Goliath bonus series a little earlier, so might as well provide Fresh Store Builder as well. That there is my recommendations for using Fresh Store Builder. I thought it might be useful in case any of you are wondering about Associate Goliath or Fresh Store Builder to just provide this more in-depth training series for you instead, because I could certainly go on for hours talking about all the individual aspects of those because I have actually used them myself. My general recommendations goes along with everything else that I've been talking about so far, what I mentioned about Associate Goliath and the Amma Suite plugin even. Use the automated content with care, basically. I wouldn't publish a ton of it, and the automated pages that you are publishing, then make sure you're customizing them as much as you possibly can. Let's see, Alice, you were asking about the reviews with Associate Goliath. I have looked at those before. I'm pretty sure that those are okay. There are sometimes options that are found in software plugins that a large number of members end up demanding, and so they get added to the software. So sometimes software can do things that isn't allowed, or maybe Amazon comes back at a later point in time and changes their rules, and something that was allowed before is no longer allowed. But I'm pretty sure that Associate Goliath still uses the iframes for their reviews. If there was some kind of an option in there to transport those reviews into WordPress comments, as an example, I just simply wouldn't be using that option. Let's see, Prezi is asking about Keyword Researcher Pro. I believe that was just made available for a limited period of time, Prezi. Unfortunately, I do not know exactly when or if that will be back. I do still utilize Keyword Researcher Pro of anything that I've used outside of the basic Amazon and Google websites that I teach in the Azon 30-day challenge. Keyword Researcher Pro was one that I found myself using in the past year or so. Ella's asking, what software do I like the best? Well, unfortunately, Ella, I am a little impartial. My Amazon plugins that I built, while I did build them to sell to others, I also built them to use myself. And so I kind of built them to do the things that I wanted it to be able to do for my Amazon websites, especially in the very beginning. I figured, hey, if nobody, ever buys my plugin, at least I would have created software that's going to help me save time with my Amazon site creation. So product style, for example, I designed to create the ads in the same manner that I had created ads on all of my Amazon sites. And so I am a little impartial to those because I kind of designed them to my liking. Beyond that, though, um, anything else that I kind of recommend or that I really enjoy using, I actually do cover in the Azon 30-day challenge. WordPress, obviously, being my favorite way to build websites or even a content management system. My favorite WordPress theme is Weaver. I cover that also in the Azon 30-day challenge. Find myself using the current version is Weaver Extreme for pretty much every website that I build these days. And that's both Amazon websites and other types of websites. Kathy is asking, can you take a snapshot of the reviews? I would really not advise doing that. While it may not be utilizing the actual content, I do think that would still violate what Amazon wants their affiliates to do as far as utilizing their reviews go. They have this iframe page that for any given product, it's providing this iframe that you can embed on your own web page that's going to show those reviews. And you can make this iframe something that you can scroll through, for example. That's really the only accepted example of what can be used. Even if you are using that iframe, though, there's even an additional stipulation that that iframe is updated every 24 hours. So you get a unique link to this particular iframe. And 24 hours later, whatever software you're using that's putting those reviews on your site should be generating essentially a fresh one that's going to include the most up-to-date reviews. Amazon just doesn't want information that's currently on their website to essentially get cached onto your website and to not be updated when that information is also changing on the Amazon website. This still allows vendors and Amazon itself to have control over their products and the marketing for their products especially. See, J. Michael is asking if he has a service-based business website that already has content on it, but I would like to add an Amazon store to it with related products. What would I suggest? Are you talking about a service business website where you're actually providing the services, or is this kind of just like a review, like a service review kind of website, J. Michael? Okay, dating site. I mean, you mentioned related products. It sounds like, you're at least on the right track there. Think about what people would actually want on the site. I would also, if it's a service site of your own, and say you have, members or a subscription fee or something of that nature, I would certainly be at least open to the possibility that, adding advertisements and stuff like that to your site could end up driving away at least some of your current member base. With that said, though, as far as how to actually go about, promoting those products, you can set up kind of just like a separate, say, fresh store builder page that would have a number of review pages in them. If you're depending upon your service site and the member base from it to be the traffic for it, you wouldn't have to necessarily worry about having custom content on those product pages. You could potentially just generate all of those product review pages, the entire Amazon store section of it, and just keep Google from being able to index it, and then you wouldn't have to worry about customizing anything. It does cut off your ability to get search traffic to those pages, but if you do have another source of traffic, like a member base, for example, you may not necessarily need Google. It just kind of depends on what your situation is. I would overall just recommend caution with integrating it. Don't shove them in their face too much. Add a little store link to the page or something, and see how people take it before you decide to expand further on something like that. WooCommerce. I looked at WooCommerce a while ago. I was going to say, that's e-commerce, I was thinking. Do they have a way that you can create pages in WooCommerce, but for affiliate websites, Kenneth? I've never actually used it for that purpose, if that is a feature. It should work with Weaver Extreme. I see another part of your question there, Kenneth. If you do have any issues with getting WooCommerce and Weaver Extreme to work together, you can always try contacting me through my support system. If you can point me to your site and show me what's wrong, I don't mind going and checking out stuff like that and providing help. Rod is mentioning that I do hate to hear about your story, the fact that HostGator kind of persuaded you to delete the site. He had a site hacked and said he had everything up to date and was using WordFence even, and still got hacked, and HostGator basically persuaded him to delete the site completely instead of trying to fix things up. This all just happened fairly recently, Rod, like since WP Guardian came out, I would imagine. To a certain extent, I don't know, I wonder if some of those security plugins like that coming into existence, in a way, they're almost kind of glorifying and making known the vulnerabilities that are out there, which can, certainly cause a little bit of an increase in situations like that happening. I would be curious to know if WP Guardian would actually protect a site. Even then, though, there's always going to be something new being developed. There's always going to be a new version of WordPress, And, 6 months from now, a year from now, there will be a new security plugin coming out that's saying it's better than WP Site Guardian, and, they'll fearmonger into purchasing that one. It's just a matter of asking yourself, is it important enough to me to want to spend this extra money on? What would I be losing if a site of mine got hacked? For the average, say, Amazon affiliate site of mine, I have a handful of them on each shared account with HostGator, for example. If I had problems with one of those, I'd just shut the site down and restore a backup of it on a different server, for example, and just transfer it over. It really wouldn't be too much of a concern for me because I have dealt with those situations before, and so I do stay prepared for things of that nature. So you just have to ask yourself, are you prepared if something were to happen? Do you have backups of your sites? Can you overcome hacking? Is it worth the problems? For me, it's not very difficult to quickly go and set up and transfer a new website. Whereas for other people, they may not even know where to begin with something like that. And it could certainly be more of a concern for them. So, just ask yourself whether it's super important to you. What would you end up losing? Do you have what you would need to recover from a situation like that? And, by all means, protect yourself if you don't have a lot of personal knowledge having to do with things of that nature. Tina was saying recently that a lot of fresh store builder sites have been kicked in the teeth by Google, saying that even some sites that were using a decent amount of unique content. I would maybe be curious as to exactly how that unique content was utilized. Are we talking a 50-page product store completely generated by Fresh Store Builder with no unique content, and then having, another section of the site of articles that are completely unique content? I still think that Google could, identify and potentially penalize those product review pages if they weren't heavily customized. If for some reason, if Google could even kick out sites that had, say, a Fresh Store Builder site, just as an example, not saying that they're doing this, if they were to kick out, say, a product review page that was 100% custom content and no other automated content could be found anywhere on the entire website, it would lead me to wonder if they could have possibly found a way to identify the software being used to say, okay, this software, a large percentage of sites being built off of it are low quality, and maybe at some point they just decide to penalize the software and anything being built with it. So definitely not saying that that's the case, but that is something that I would look out for if I were to build a site like that, and I know I put everything unique into it, and Google, wouldn't even index my site, or rankings that were there before had completely gone away. It would make me, question that. Carrie, though, will definitely try to find out why exactly that's going on. I really would doubt that it's what I was just mentioning there, though. But just figured I would throw that out there as a worst case scenario, what you could kind of use as your own personal indicator if, something did go drastically wrong like that and you did have completely unique content. To a certain extent, that's Also why I build sites that don't utilize a software that can really define the entire site. Really, the only thing that I use that is like that would be WordPress. And I think WordPress is way too big for Google to try to kick them out these days. And there are tons of great WordPress sites out there. So by just going through and building my content all within the WordPress software, and by carefully utilizing the other software in the construction of my sites, especially when I'm building my Amazon pages and using content that might be not completely original. It's just kind of why I have my whole approach that I do, because Google can't really flag one of my sites and say, okay, it's using this software. There are all these other bad sites using this software, and so we're going to penalize this one too. The only way they could really do that with one of my websites is if they decided to go after WordPress. Paulette is asking about the Fresh Store Builder training. I'm not entirely sure whether I'll provide the link one more time here. I'm not entirely sure whether I did that link before or after you were asking about it. The entire course can be accessed there on that page on my website. As far as what to do with it or when to actually use it, to a certain extent, I would recommend kind of using it along with the 30-day challenge. If you are wanting to use the 30-day challenge, but to then incorporate using Fresh Store Builder instead, there's kind of a couple of ways that you can go about that, using either Fresh Store Builder completely by itself, which then would take WordPress completely out of the equation. And so in an example like that, you would have more of a focus on what I'm showing you in the Fresh Store Builder series, because I do use the software in that series instead of WordPress to show that aspect of creating sites with it. You can combine Fresh Store Builder and WordPress together, which is something that I do briefly talk about in that series too. It would just kind of depend on what kind of a site you want to use, whether you want to use WordPress and Fresh Store Builder together, or whether you're just going to be using Fresh Store Builder by itself. Going through the Azon 30-day challenge first, at least, would give you the essential training, the knowledge to kind of go behind it all. And then if you were to go back through the Fresh Store Builder training afterwards, you could kind of see where the Azon 30-day challenge training comes into play. There are some things that I talk about in the Fresh Store Builder training. They're a little more generalized, and obviously the details are kind of found in the Azon 30-day challenge as far as why I do things the way that I do them, how I go about writing out my new content and doing all of the research and all those other aspects. So to a certain extent, you'll use them together. On another hand, it can just kind of depend on how you want to utilize the software, to what extent, whether you want to completely utilize Fresh Store Builder or also throw WordPress in there. Lisa is asking, what are automated pages? That's quite all right, Lisa. There are different kinds of software out there that will create an entire product page for you. I should be able to pull up one of these just as an example. just as an example here, this is not really a functioning website. It's kind of a test website that I use, but it also utilizes Associate Goliath. This is an automated page. The entire content of this page, from the title down to all of the article content that is within it, all of this comes directly off of the Amazon website. As a result, that content is by no means unique. It can be found on not just Amazon, but also on pretty much any other affiliate website that promotes this product, or at least if they use software like that to generate this page. So that's what I mean by automated pages, where you can just type in the name or a keyword phrase for this product, click on a button, and this entire page, as you see it right here, is automatically generated for you and published on your site. There's a lot of convenience to this type of stuff, but there are certainly a lot of drawbacks to just clicking the buttons and walking away from it, basically. So I try to teach people how to get the best of both worlds out of these types of software and things. Let's see. George is asking, can I show us what the iframe looks like? I'm not sure if I have a live example of that or not. Trying to think of whether I do or do not have that utilized anywhere. I honestly don't think that I do, George. Sorry about that. I wish I had a good example to show you from there. I really don't think that I have one. I can try to search around for one. Maybe I can find something by the end of this class, though. Raymond is asking, what about prices? How do we keep up with the current prices on our website? They change all the time. There are two easy ways of doing that, Raymond. Either number one, utilize software that will automatically update the prices for you. Most of these automated page building software titles will update the prices for you. My plugins will also update the prices for you. There are some examples where even the software may not be able to correctly update the prices. It just kind of depends on the vendor listing and how it's arranged there. The Amazon system, as far as all that goes, isn't 100% perfect. If you are worried about keeping up with your prices, though, because this is something that you are supposed to keep up with. If you are displaying a product price on your own website for something you're promoting on Amazon, then it should be up to date within the last 24 hours-ish or so. If not, opt instead for simply not showing the price at all. If it's maybe you're going to be building a whole bunch of different websites and you just don't want to have to worry about checking back up on it, don't worry about the price. Tell people to click here to go to Amazon to find out what the price is. It can even help to increase clicks to your affiliate link. Again, don't take this here as an example. This is a testing website that I use for programming plugins that I do. So I've actually even destroyed the functionality of Associate Goliath to a certain extent here, so it's not even working properly on this particular site. I was trying to find an example of one of the automated pages to show someone, and then also hoping that maybe I had a iframe on this site, but I do not. let's see. Kenneth I think you were talking about our previous conversation. Yeah, WooCommerce, right, is what you were asking about. It does work with Weaver, creates a storefront. Okay, let me know if there are any more questions there, Kenneth, that you had as far as WooCommerce. It looks like I covered them for you, but I saw a couple of new entries that you had made a little further down and wasn't 100% sure. J. Michael is asking why I use the Weaver theme. Number one, it's free. It's also a theme that I can recommend to people being free. I can recommend it to my customers and not have to say, yeah, I recommend this, but, hey, guess what? There's a price tag to go along with it. So, I like being able to recommend something and to say, yeah, it is free. Beyond that, though, I still like it. Before I ever recommended it to any of my customers, I used it because I like to create custom websites a lot of times. Before WordPress ever came around, before I ever used it, I made my websites completely from scratch. I would just write out the actual web design code, HTML and CSS and everything else that I needed to create it. WordPress made it easier for me, even though I had the knowledge to create it from scratch. Weaver allowed me to customize a lot of different aspects of my WordPress websites without having to really go in and customize a lot of the coding. Before I started using Weaver, I found myself taking a couple of particular sites and essentially breaking them from being able to upgrade any further with WordPress, where I would actually go in and modify the actual code that was in WordPress, modify the base way that it worked, because I wanted it to do something different from what it did by default. So when Weaver came around, it allowed me to do a lot of those things without having to break WordPress in the process or do a lot of this custom programming, but to still have a unique look for a site or to still be able to arrange the content in the way I wanted to. So that's really why I utilize it. There is a pro version of Weaver. I have used Weaver for, honestly, don't even know how many years. 4 or 5 years possibly, if I had to guess. But I have never once had even the need to upgrade to the pro version of Weaver. I've always utilized the free version and still use it to this day. And that's a shame, J. Michael, what you say about HostGator. I unfortunately have witnessed the customer support decline of HostGator personally as a customer over the years. I was with them before they were purchased by EIG, like you're talking about. And I remember when the customer support just used to be awesome. And nowadays it takes a while to get a response, and usually that response is not going to be all that helpful for you in the end. So I do hate that they were taken over. I do still use HostGator for shared hosting accounts for my Amazon sites. Their speed of their servers does still seem to be pretty decent. That's kind of one of the big reasons why I was always with HostGator. They were faster than a lot of the competitors that like to overcrowd their servers. I don't necessarily believe that they keep them as undercrowded as they did at one point, but they work out for me. I haven't really had any major issues with it. Steven, as far as backing up my websites go, anything that I do mass backup with is on a dedicated server of mine, so I'm backing up the entire web server. But I don't have my Amazon affiliate sites on dedicated servers. I just kind of think it's overkill for them. Those I do back up individually, but I don't change a lot of my Amazon sites very frequently, so I just do those backups through my cPanel. And then, whatever I back up on a Amazon site, my backup might not change for a year or two if I don't actually make any changes to the website itself. Another possibility, Tina, with a bunch of those fresh door builder sites having issues in Google in the last few days, you kind of never really know exactly what might be causing it. If you can't say that it's affecting all of the websites, then there's definitely a reason for it more than the software itself. It could be the marketing practices of some of those websites. They may have had the unique content built up on their website, but if you then go out and start spamming a bunch of backlinks on the internet, I do think that Google, could definitely penalize your website for those types of things too. So, could maybe be a recent product perhaps that got promoted by them that, maybe didn't work out as it was advertised to, especially if something in the marketing or backlink realm. It's hard to say though, but I trust Carrie to figure out what the issue is for sure. Stephen is asking about what about paying for articles? Can you do it profitably? He can write 20 articles a month, but that's only 12 sites a year. To a certain extent, Stephen, you can certainly outsource profitably building Amazon websites, especially since you're paying a one-time fee to get that content written for you, and then you can earn monthly commissions off of it. So you don't have to necessarily look at it as, okay, I pay, X amount of money to get these articles written for this website. You don't have to make that back within, say, a month or two. It might take, a year even to make all of your earnings back from outsourcing on a particular website. The biggest thing with outsourcing is that, you have access to an unlimited amount of help these days online. So your limits with outsourcing are really only limited by your budget. If you do have a decent budget available for outsourcing, you can sometimes go overboard with it before you really know what you're getting yourself into. So as far as outsourcing goes, and also trying to make sure you're doing it profitably, what I would recommend to do is, since you're saying you could essentially start out by building one website a month, build a website, build maybe even 2 or 3 websites, see how they perform on average, because even if you build one website and it does great, it doesn't guarantee that the second website you build is going to do just as good. Different niches, different products that you promote can certainly have different performance to go along with it. So by starting out by building your sites cheaply or even completely free, to start with, you can gauge what is working, what's not working, and then you can go back and say after 6 months or so, you can see what kind of earnings you've gotten from each site and figure out, what you're making per website, per article, per month. Figure out how long it would take you to recover paying $5 an article or $10 an article. Are you looking at 6 months to get your investment back on a website, or are you looking at a year, 2 years? And by having those sites that you've created yourself without those initial investments that you can kind of use as research there to figure out what you can afford to pay people going into the future. And then you just kind of expand and start ramping up your efforts once you know what will be profitable for you, what you can afford to pay people, and how long it'll take you to earn that money back. Let's see, Tina is asking about what are my thoughts on a blog connected to a store with fresh store content, one on the root domain, one with the blog in the folder. I do think that is okay to do. For people that are really familiar with WordPress, that's certainly what I often recommend. The most complicated part of that is getting the two websites to kind of mesh together without your visitors really being able to tell. Even using the WordPress theme that they have for Fresh Store Builder to kind of mimic the look of it, I still found some minor discrepancies there when I was setting up a site like that, because I have tried that out myself, setting up a Fresh Store Builder and a blog, but all under one domain, and it works. That way you are focusing the unique informational kind of content on the WordPress website, and then you use the Fresh Store Builder system to help assist you with those product review pages. But again, I would still recommend customizing those. Stephen was asking, is anyone having a problem getting the $100 AdWords credit? Every time he clicks on the advertiser link in YouTube, it goes to a blank page. I hate AdWords. I'll throw that out there. I really don't use them for advertising anymore. I did once upon a time, and they're so picky, and they try to control your business practices and tried to tell me how I could and couldn't sell products on my websites, and I just kind of got tired of dealing with them. I guess that was back in the day when they were just throwing their advertisers away like napkins, and I don't know if they're still doing those things, but I never went back to them. Nikki is asking about Genesis theme. It's been a while, Nikki, but I have tried that. And if I'm remembering the right one, I want to say I liked that one. And actually did build a couple of sites of my own with it and had them work out just fine for me. That was, it had to have been a number of years ago, but I'm pretty sure those sites are still even doing fine these days, still up in the top of the search rankings. Robert is asking about InstaBuilder. I'm not familiar with InstaBuilder.
Just a few minutes.
Okay, one of those. Yeah, those would be fine. Kind of like WordPress Profit Builder too, where you kind of have this little drag and drop system. You're asking specifically about, would it slow down the site compared to building something from scratch just in the WordPress system? Using less software is always going to run faster than using more software. So in that regard, it would slow down the site. As far as how much, whether or not it would actually make any difference or not, that is definitely something that I couldn't really say with confidence. I use WP Profit Builder as kind of the one theme, I guess you could say, that I use besides the Weaver theme, but I don't use that for Amazon sites. However, they do have a lot of templates and stuff in them that are geared towards affiliate promotions and things like that. They even have kind of product review page templates, or at least in WP Profit Builder. I would kind of assume that InstaBuilder has the same type of thing, especially seeing all these templates and stuff being a part of this as well. So it's certainly something that you could use. I think it would work out just fine. I do think it would slow your site down based on what you're asking, but it's hard to say exactly how much. You can try to test it. There are different plugins that you can use to test the loading speed of your page, for example. You could try a version with and a version without this and see how much of a difference it really is making. You can follow your site speed score in Google Analytics and see there what kind of a difference it's making, just as a couple of examples. Yeah, Hara, it is certainly okay to use pretty much any type of WordPress theme. It doesn't have to be a specific Amazon theme. You could use just a normal blog style type of a theme. It just kind of depends on what you're going for, what your goals are with the website, what kind of content you want to provide for people, where and how you want to be advertising your Amazon products especially. A lot of the themes or, page building Amazon plugins that are out there, they do offer a little bit of an advantage to where, they're geared towards creating the product ad for you, for example, and putting it in a specific spot on your page and having it styled in a way that's going to help induce clicks towards it. So using something that's not geared towards Amazon, something that was just a general blog style theme, you can definitely still add those kinds of things in yourself. This especially becomes a little more so true if you're using my product style plugin, because it's something that you can insert into just, say, a plain article that you have in a blog style theme. So depending on how you're actually going about building your site, if you are using everything that I'm teaching in the Azon 30-day challenge, including my software, and just wanted to substitute the Weaver theme for something different, that would certainly be okay and still work out fine. That's a shame to hear about their support, J. Michael. You've seen that also, Carlin, with HostGator support kind of changing. I still use them despite their support. Every now and again, something will happen with my dedicated servers with them that makes me question why I still stay there. I can't remember the last time I ever had an issue with my shared hosting accounts with them though, which seems kind of weird, I guess. They're cheap accounts. I really never have any issues with. The more expensive I got with them, the more problems I seemingly started having. No, Alice, you don't have to keep putting fresh content on an affiliate site by any means. As long as you have built out a decent sized site with good content on it to begin with, and you're covering a decent variety of topics relating to your niche, you can certainly build out a 20-page website and just leave it there for all eternity. Some of these websites can kind of slowly lose their rankings over the course of years. It will very heavily depend on your niche and the keywords you're going after, though. How much competition grows in that niche over the coming years. But I've definitely had some sites that have sat around for 4, 5, 6 years, if not more, completely untouched, and their Google rankings stay the same, if not even go up over the course of time as the domains get a little bit older. So the main reason why I recommend adding fresh content to a site is if you are in a more competitive niche, something electronics based is definitely going to have more competition. It might require you to revisit it every year or two to add new reviews of newer products that have come out, maybe replacement models for products that you are promoting. It just, will heavily depend on your niche whether there's a good need to do it. But if you're going after more of an evergreen niche and the products aren't constantly getting replaced, you can oftentimes leave those sites just sitting there for a prolonged period of time, if not indefinitely, and they keep performing. Prezi, I do not use a spinning software personally. I've tried out all of them that I've ever come across, except for maybe the one in Fresh Store Builder, actually. I don't know if I ever actually demoed that one. However, in general, at least, I'm not a huge fan of content spinning. I find that the spun content doesn't make a lot of sense a lot of times. It makes it harder to read, makes it more confusing, and it's just changing it up kind of for search engines. And I'm interested not just in search engine traffic, but also in what's going to happen with the visitor once they're on my site. Are they going to think my site is helpful and useful and is trying to assist them with their sale, or are they going to think that my site is just, automated junk, essentially? So in that regard, the one main area that I would say that spinning software could be useful is, for example, with Fresh Store Builder. If you're building your product review pages and you're going to be going back in and customizing the content or adding in your own unique content to them, you could take the content that is coming off of Amazon, the auto content that's showing up on those product review pages, and spin that content simply to make it different from what the vast majority of other sites are going to have. I would still recommend putting in my own unique content above that content. And I would also still recommend going back through the spun content and rereading it to see if it makes sense, to go through and make some manual changes to it for clarity's sake. Okay, great, Byron. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that about the Fresh Store Builder iframes. The first tab is for user reviews and the other tab is for Amazon reviews, and it is iframed. The user reviews in the first tab, that's where somebody would actually come to your site and put in their own review. The iframed Amazon review content that they're showing is completely compliant with Amazon's terms of service. Based on that information you gave me, especially, just reconfirms that. So thank you, and for anyone else out there wondering, Fresh Store Builder is definitely using the correct way of showing reviews, product reviews on your websites. Hara is asking about special components to get listings on her sites using something other than WordPress. If you're referring to those product review iframes, I would not be manually going after those, because that is something that needs to come directly from the Amazon system, and it has to be refreshed every 24 hours. As far as, say, trying to take the Amazon content and, showing it on your site or something, I also would recommend avoiding the use of an iframe. You definitely don't want to try to iframe the Amazon website within your own website, just to, say, show the product review, the product page off of Amazon. I would just kind of like what I recommend to do in the Azon 30-day challenge, with just going through, you write out your content ahead of time, you load up your content in the WordPress or in whatever content management system you want to use, and manually link all those pages up together. If need be, put in your own images for the Amazon products and link them up with an affiliate link instead. You can certainly do those things manually, and instead of having to use plugins or software to do it for you. So if you're not using WordPress, there are still ways to go about it. I'm going to look into, I've been hearing a lot about X-Site Pro. I'm going to be looking into that after the holidays, and I'm curious to find out a little more about it. Your Fresh Store Builder and blog are not smooth, Karen. Are you using that FSB WordPress theme and still getting those results? I want to say when I was setting up my own site, yeah, okay, you are. I did find myself having to customize a number of things. I don't recall exactly. I know I included some of that. I'm kind of thinking I put all of that in my Fresh Store Builder training. If you have not seen that bonus series, that link is in the chat box. It ends in TC. It's ryanstevensonmarketing.com/TC. There should be some information in there having to do with that, because I definitely experienced that myself. I don't recall off the top of my head exactly what I did to try to smooth out those two areas of the site, but I definitely tried that out. Sure, Poppy. Poppy is asking, could I please discuss when and how to use follow or no follow with respect to review pages? I'll pull up one of my Amazon sites here just to use as an example. So here we have an Amazon site. Anytime you have links within your content of your page, anywhere, even outside of the content you edit in WordPress. What I mean by that is if I were to go and edit this page in WordPress, this is the content that I'd be seeing in that page. Everything beyond that, though, is still generated by WordPress, though. And any links that are anywhere on this page can end up kind of either helping or hurting you in the search engine rankings. Whenever you're linking to another page, if it's to another page on your own website, then that's most likely going to be okay. You're kind of sending some of the ranking power of this page over to another page of your own website. When you're linking out to another website besides your own, though, you have to ask yourself whether you're willing to share some of your ranking power with them and whether you might have any benefit from doing something like that. Now, when it comes to my Amazon affiliate links, if I have an Amazon ad, such as this one right here, my links that go to the Amazon website are always going to be no-follow links. My software does automatically take care of that for you, where it'll go ahead and put in the no-follow. You can see right here, here is the code for my link, and this is the image for the Buy Now button that's being linked right here. I have the normal part of my link, a href with the URL for that link enclosed in quote marks, and rel equal to no follow is in quote marks here, this being the no follow tag. You can add this rel is equal to no follow to the inside of any HTML link like this, and this prevents search engines, or at least advises them not to index that link. In my opinion, I do think Google still crawls those links. However, they will not essentially take some of your ranking power and send it off to that other page. So whenever I'm promoting an Amazon product link, I always make sure that they are no follow. If I'm using my software product style, for example, that's not something that I ever have to worry about because it takes care of it for me. In addition to the Amazon links, though, the other links that you might have on your website, sometimes you may want to just leave all of them normal links that are allowed to be followed, in which case you don't have to put anything special in them. Just a plain link that you set up on your site should be a link that is followed by search engines. However, you can try to control the flow of search power through your site by limiting where a search engine can actually travel in your site. What I mean by that is, on this homepage, for example, this being the root of my website, I do want everything coming off of this page to be followed, because I need Google to come onto this page and to basically be able to get to any other page that is on my entire website by just clicking on links that are found. They don't have to get to every single page by just clicking one link here on this home page. They could click on one link here, get to another section of my site, click on another link, and so on and so forth. You can restrict, though, that movement that a search engine is allowed to take through your site and actually make your content either more powerful or more relevant. What I mean by that is, let's say, for example, you have a section of your site that's all about brands. You can have all of the pages of your website linking up with all of the other pages of your website. Or you can just have a limited hierarchy type of a structure where your pages, whenever possible, only try to link up. So these pages would only try to link up to the brands page and then back up to the home page of my website. Same thing for this section, same thing for this section. That way you don't have intermingling of these different types of pages. Now, WordPress is not perfect about setting all that stuff up, but you can, to a certain extent, at least within the content of your pages, control the flow of links. Now, just in case, some of you are not super familiar with HTML and maybe weren't getting the example I gave before. Here is a basic HTML text link. In the quote marks here, where it says href, we have the URL for the page that would be visited. So, for example, we could do downcomforterguide.com. Right here is the text that would be clicked on for that link. So this link right here, home, is the text that is found right here. This is all within less than and greater than symbols. You can kind of see that this tag over here and this ending to the tag are separated by these less than and greater than symbols. This is important because if you want to add a no follow to any particular link, you need to make sure you're doing it within the opening tag, number one. That's where you're going to find the URL for that link. And number two, you want to make sure that it is still within this less than or greater than symbol, depending on which side of it you're on. All you're doing, though, is adding in a space to separate this from this, and then you're just adding in the phrase rel, rel, equals, and no follow enclosed in quote marks. That again makes your link no follow, so search engines won't index it, or at least they're not supposed to. They're still kind of free to do whatever they want to do with that. Let's see, Tina is asking about, or mentioned that Jan Rue really pushes AdWords with Amazon affiliate sites instead of Google. Oh, really? I was not aware of that. Personally, I do on one hand understand why someone would want to push traffic, paid traffic, to a site. If you don't have to worry about free organic traffic from Google, then it doesn't matter what your content is. It doesn't matter how big your website is. It doesn't matter what your niche is ultimately about. You can just build one-page little product review pages and drive traffic to it all day long. That is quite okay for some people. I've never been a huge fan of paid advertising, though, especially when it comes to affiliate sales, and even more especially when it comes to Amazon, because oftentimes the commission rates are fairly low and they just don't really justify the sometimes exorbitant costs with pay-per-click advertising these days. So I do stay away from paid traffic myself. I focus on the content so I can get that free, organic, targeted traffic. And ultimately, while it may take a little more work and effort to get these things, a system like this going, it's got longevity to it. You don't have to constantly be keeping up on it. You don't have to constantly be pushing more money into advertising to try to drive traffic to your site, to where if you stop driving that traffic with that paid advertising, then your income dries up. I've never been a really big fan of that approach. I want the traffic I'm getting this month to be the same that I'm getting next month, if not even better next month. And I prefer to not pay for that traffic. So that's kind of part of my approach. And it just kind of adds another element of complexity to it, because you have to advertise correctly or you can end up wasting a ton of money, unfortunately. I have not used Infold, Tina. I'm not familiar with that at all. Drag and drop for formatting of page content. It sounds decent. I mean, there's certainly nothing wrong with using something like that, especially for someone that might want to make a slightly fancier looking page but has no knowledge of web design, things of that nature. Some of those drag and drop themes can be really helpful for situations like that. Paulette, that's an interesting question. Saying you have a well-established website for a radio program / podcast. It has consistent traffic but does not make any money. Can you use this traffic and Google Love, or should I keep the Amazon affiliate site separate? Are you saying to use that traffic or that website basically to help to boost the search rankings, say by giving links to your Amazon sites? Is that what you're referring to? I do believe it is okay to share your traffic or to interlink your websites like that, as long as there is some kind of a connection to it. I wouldn't really recommend, just blindly linking it up to, say, all of your different Amazon sites. But if you had one Amazon site that the products would make a good fit for, possibly, you could certainly provide a link to that to try to give some Google love to your affiliate site. I would recommend setting up maybe even a new page on that existing website to kind of do like a review of this particular Amazon site to provide a link. That way you're linking from a page where you can control the title and the content of it. So you can make the title and the content even more relevant to whatever your Amazon site is going to be about. And that'll help with Google respecting that link a lot more so. Okay, you do book reviews on the show. Let's see. Yeah, I would even if you didn't link it up to a separate site, I mean, you could even just, whatever book you reviewed, as an example, you could be promoting it along with, say, the recording of that podcast, I guess, depending on how your site is set up. To where, you might have a page about this particular subject. It's got this podcast you can download. And then, right next to where you download that podcast, you could have a link for that particular book on Amazon. So, people could go straight from there to go buy it. There wouldn't be like this middleman other affiliate website there that they'd have to kind of travel through. I know that doesn't really go along the lines with the Google love, but to a certain extent, you might be able to utilize your podcasting site to get some direct affiliate sales off of those books that you're reviewing. Let's see, to help out Sandra here, beyond HostGator, who can recommend a hosting company that has, I guess, their server speed and reliability, but also with good customer support to boot? Curious if any of you have a recommendation for that. Personally, it's been a while since I have used something outside of HostGator. I do have, more than just like basic shared hosting. I don't really depend on customer support necessarily like the average person would do. I kind of manage my own servers and stuff like that for the most part. So it's obviously not as big of a deal for me as it might be for some people. Let's see, I have a couple of people who are suggesting things here. Fast Comment, Site5, Insty.me, INSTY.me. I've heard of them. They're saying Insty.me is really good. Namecheap, but support us through chat. WA. Bluehost is a little better than HostGator, but also purchased by EIG. Guess it wouldn't matter which one you're with, you're kind of still getting the same company there, right? InMotion hosting, 100% US phone, chat, etc. Traffic Planet, supposedly good. 100K Factory recommends SiteGround. yeah, I know what you mean, Prezi. Those hosting company affiliate links are worth a ton. Bluehoo.com was always good for me, but not using it as I have Fresh hosting currently. I like Bluehoo better than Fresh hosting. Thank you, guys. I'm going to have to check out a couple of those myself. I do need something beyond HostGator to try out and that I could also recommend to others, since I do use HostGator, but I also obviously have some criticisms of them myself. Hara is asking, is it better to have one large store with many product pages or individual mini sites for one product or product group with their own domain? And also, how about subdomains? I usually recommend to avoid subdomains. Just stick with a primary domain name to go with each individual site that you have. I don't really recommend going for a really huge store with most of those websites, but I don't really go for like a super tiny one product mini site either. It's more of like a small group of products. like I teach in the Azon 30-day challenge, I'll end up with maybe about a 20-page website, and somewhere in the 5 to 10 page neighborhood of that 20 pages might end up being product review pages, and the rest of it ends up being mostly informational content, structural pages of my website, etc. Now, if you do still have any questions about software that you would like to ask, I am still welcoming those. You are more than welcome to punch them in. If I happen to have missed something that you have already asked me currently, I do ask that you please punch it in for me again, because I have likely missed it if I have not covered it as of right now. Coming up in January of 2016, just next month, actually under a month away now, I'm going to be starting my new Amazon webinar training series, where I'm actually going to be taking a smaller website, one of these 20-page websites that I teach to build in the Azon 30-day challenge, and figuring out exactly how to expand these websites into larger authority sites. More importantly, though, is to figure out when you should really do that. In the Azon 30-day challenge, I teach building these smaller sites. They can work just fine how they are. I've got tons of these 20-page sites that I have left up, and they earn for me every single month without having to do anything to them. But after you build a couple of these sites, it's really easy to identify the strongest ones of the bunch. You can say, this site is getting much more traffic and much more sales every month than all of my other ones, so why not focus on that site a little bit and expand it? Chances are, if Google is giving one of your websites really good search rankings, if you can expand that website in the right way, you can get many, many times more rankings than you already have. Google often will latch on to your website as being important for not just your keyword phrase, but for other relational subjects. And so a large part of that is what I'm going to be teaching in my upcoming live webinar series called Azon Overhaul. I am offering early bird seats for this right now. I've only recently opened this and have not started pushing it very heavily. I have not even put together a really in-depth sales page for it yet, something that I will be doing after the holidays as the price continues to creep up. For right now, though, it is the best time to get in and go ahead and grab your seat. You not only get to join me for the live series and all the classes for it, you get recordings afterwards. And when I go back through and edit all this down into a final take-home series similar to the Azon 30-day challenge, you get complete access to the entire membership site for that as well. So you get everything relating to this entire product from start to finish. In addition to being great for expanding a site that's already profitable, this same kind of training is also going to be touching some on reviving dead websites. A lot of times you can build a website in a niche and it works great for a while, and after a year or a couple of years, just depending on what kind of products you're going after, sometimes you can start to see a decline in either your traffic and or your sales. So you can do these website revivals in addition to these website expansions to not only help to revive a dead website, but also to bring traffic and earnings back to levels even beyond what have previously been experienced there. After each 50 people join up with this series, the price is going to go up an additional $50. And this actually will continue to go on every 50 purchases upwards until I believe $397 is the maximum price. So you can get in for a fraction of this right now by being in the very first group of people that gets to register their seat for this. So if you have been enjoying the Azon 30-day challenge and you would like to stick with me and continue with your Amazon learning, especially learning even more powerful strategies that help you to expand on what you're already going to be doing with the Azon 30-day challenge, then I would highly recommend joining me for Azon Overhaul. Thank you, Paulette. I really appreciate your kind comments. I'm glad you found tonight's webinar to be the most useful you have ever been on. That's pretty tall ordered to stand up to. Look forward to seeing you again on Thursday, Paulette. Again, thank you for all of your comments. I really appreciate that. Tina's asking, what ratio would I consider to be good with fresh store products with unique descriptions, a blog with pages of unique content? The size of your website, Tina, is really just going to depend on what your subject matter is. When I mention having as few as 10 product pages on a website, I actually will go even lower than that sometimes. The site I was showing you not too long ago, downcomforterguide.com, is one of my personal Amazon sites that I built, I want to say in 2011, if I'm not mistaken. Still gets 6, 7, 8,000 visitors every month. Still refers regular monthly Amazon sales. It only has, I think, 5 product review pages on the entire website. And it's about a 20-page website or so, give or take a couple pages. It's really more about what works for your niche, and also about how large your niche really is. Think of it like this. If you build a website about cars and you wanted to cover everything there is to possibly cover about cars, from all the different kinds of cars, both now and back into the past for the last 100 years, as long as they've ever been made, all the different parts and accessories, driving, information relating to it, there's all kinds of stuff. Car insurance. I could probably sit here and rattle off different sub-niches, essentially, of the car industry for a number of minutes. So sure, you could create a site all about cars, but that site would have to be huge to even cover a fraction of the potential information that is out there. However, if you were to create a website just about, say, a 1995 Mustang Cobra convertible, and you're only going to talk about that one car and things relating to it, parts, accessories, add-on kits, so on and so forth that you might be able to buy for it, your possible topics in that second website would be much, much smaller than it would be in that overall general cars website. And so it's not about creating as many pages as you possibly can. It's about creating what fits for your niche. to a certain extent, it's also about going after a niche that is closely defined enough to where you don't have to kill yourself to cover all of that information. If you're just one person building this website yourself, how long would it take you to write an article about every single possible subject within the niche that you're going after? How many subjects are there? Are there 20? Are there 100? Are there 1,000 or 10,000 or even more? If you're in too vague of a niche, you would likely have tons of possibilities of all those different topics that you could talk about, tons of different possibilities of all these different products that you could potentially be promoting on the site. And so therefore, you would certainly end up with a site that had a lot more than just 5 or 10 different products being promoted on it. For the sites that I'm usually building, though, these much smaller, more defined niche websites, I'm still not covering all of the potential topics. I'm picking and choosing from them to choose the products and the topics that I think are the most relevant, offer a decent chance at getting search engine rankings and traffic from them, and also the products that I think have a decent chance of converting into sales for me. So I don't have to do all of it. You don't have to have a complete, comprehensive website that covers everything. That's really more along the lines of what I would be looking to expand a site into after initially building it. Something more like what I will be doing with Azon Overhaul would be taking it kind of to that next step. Oh no, your site broke overnight, so you deleted it, Tina. Well, as far as starting over from scratch, it may end up being a good thing depending on, where you were sitting with the site already. Sometimes starting over from scratch, taking a new look on, how you approach building the site, how you approach especially researching and planning before you ever start building the site. If you were not having success with your previous site, it's possible something in those steps could have been done wrong that ends up holding you back in the later stuff. Unfortunately, if you kind of select the wrong niche or target the wrong keyword phrases in the beginning, there's really nothing that you can do to the actual website to kind of recover it from things like that. Okay, fairly new site. Well, that's sorry to hear about that, if that did cause you to end up losing a bunch of work. If you had a lot of unique content and stuff on that site, Tina, you also mentioned that you're a Team Azon Pro member. If you did have unique content on that site and you would like to see if it's possible to recover it, contact me. All unique. Okay, send me a message through my support ticket system, ryanstevensonplugins.com/support. If you still have that backup, whether you think it might be corrupt or not, if you would send that to me, I at least know what I'm doing enough with computers and files and websites and programming and stuff to where I can take a look at that and tell you if there is something recoverable from it or not, to at least help you out. You have WP content and theme. What you're really looking for, where all of your content would be located, is actually going to be in the backup of the database. Assuming, yes, exactly, in MySQL. Okay. If you do, though, that's where I would be looking for your content. If it's going to exist anywhere, it's going to exist in there. Just in case you would like to try to recover that. Sandra is asking, if we were to build an authority site, lots of original content using WordPress, no automated content at all, would it have the potential to go to $1,500 a month or potentially even more? Is it difficult for experienced Amazon affiliates to hit that level? Not really. There are lots of Amazon affiliates that are well beyond that level, and aren't even involved with, teaching other people what they do. Just, average run-of-the-mill affiliates making, I've seen some making upwards of 20 grand a month. I've even seen some that, are making considerably more than what I'm even able to do off of it. So it's certainly doable, Sandra. It's just a matter of what industry you're really in, what niche you're going after. It's another reason why my 20-page site creation tactic is really ideal, I feel like, for getting started, because it lets you put all these niche feelers out there so you can tell what's working and what isn't, and then you latch on to your best performer, and that's the site that you expand. Instead of just building one site and just going huge with it from the get-go, because you have no indication whether or not that site's going to perform, whether it's worthwhile to put all that time and effort into creating a much larger authority site. So part of it is about figuring out exactly which site and which niche to try to pursue for something like that too. But if you pursue the right kind, it's certainly very feasible to hit those income levels and even well beyond. I want to go ahead and make a final call here for questions for tonight, guys. Just in case you have anything else you would like to ask, please go ahead and get it in the chat box over the next minute or two for me.